We'll call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals. Let us stand for the pledge. Keith, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Keith Bratcher.
Here.
Joe Crowell.
Here.
Joe Machado.
Here.
Jerry Sartain. Here. Tony Webb.
Yeah.
Zane Cantrell.
Present.
We do have a quorum and all voting members are present.
Okay, all of our regular members are present. We'll be voting tonight. We have two alternates. I'd like to introduce to you our newest alternate. Will not be confirmed, though, until the County Commission's meeting. Michael Rather. Michael, we're pleased to have you on board, and I'm sure your ratification will be coming across pretty soon. And we welcome you to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Let me welcome each one of you here and give you a little bit of an idea of how we will proceed with this. As we only have one item tonight, which that's unusual, but anyway, we'll move very rapidly in this. We'll have a report from our staff, and after that, we'll ask those of you who have business before us to come to the podium and give any additional information. Following that, we'll have a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on the request that is before us before we make a decision on it. Now, we have the minutes that were sent out ahead of time. You've had time to read those. Are there any changes or deletions from the minutes? Do I have a motion that they be approved? Have a motion that to be approved. Do we have a second? Got a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The minutes are approved. The first item we have is a request by Harold Rose, who is requesting approval of a conditional use for dismantling motor vehicle. And what do you have on that?
Application 2010-51 filed by Harold Rose involves the property located at 2880 Johnson Lane. This property lies within Commissioner Joe Frank Jernigan's district. This property is a 22-acre parcel located in a residential 15 zone. Mr. Rose is seeking conditional use approval to allow a major home-based business primarily engaged in dismantling motor vehicles for the purpose of wholesale or retail distribution of used motor vehicle parts in the residential zone. This is a major home-based business, so he is proposing to conduct the business within an accessory building on the property. And it's the applicant's intention to specialize in Corvettes, and he hopes to dismantle them and sell the parts online. He is not proposing any additional employees other than family members, and he states that all the activity associated with a home-based business will take place inside an enclosed structure, which will be constructed as an attachment to an existing barn. Staff has considered the request and also the Section 7.05 of the Rutherford County Zoning Resolution. Those are the conditions relating to major home-based businesses that help prevent the possibility of a home-based business in becoming a nuisance. The applicant also plans to construct a building that the business will be conducted within, and staff considered that with the existing structures on the property, and it appeared to meet the zoning regulations. Essential public services. It's located off of Johnson Lane, which appears to be like a private lane, and the existing residence is already served by septic and water. And we find that the proposed home-based business will not result in the destruction or loss of any significant natural, scenic, or historic importance, those features with the property. Staff recommends additional conditions in Section E of the report. Those conditions are that the major home-based business involving the dismantlement of Corvettes for sale parts and located at 2880 must continually comply with the standards for major home-based businesses found in Section 705 and 1304F of the zoning resolution, that the conditional use is granted to the applicant Harold Rose and the use shall expire upon the sale or transfer of the property, that absolutely no outside storage is permitted in association with the conditional use, that no more than 3 automobiles may be dismantled at the site on any given time during the duration of the subject conditional use permit, and then in the event of a complaint, and it's found to be valid, the conditional use permit shall be re-reviewed. Staff recommends approval, and this is just an overview. The property is located in R15, just a small site plan of the property, and I'll advance to the next. These are photos of the property. It's in a rural area. The building on the bottom, as you can see, is the barn that the activities or the addition will be constructed upon, and the activities will take place within that. Again, it's a 22-acre parcel, and this area is sparsely developed. Staff recommends approval with conditions. And that concludes our presentation.
Okay, signs posted?
Yes, sir.
Okay, notice is sent out.
Yes.
Okay, do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around to the podium.
What about opposition? Are you asking for opposition? Are you asking for opponents now?
No, we'll have a public hearing on that in a few minutes. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mark Rose. I am the son of Harold Rose, and we have proposed this. We have always owned Corvettes and have dabbled in them, and we come up with the idea that we could honestly start a part-time business with this. And of course, it would be difficult for us to go out into the commercial market and rent a building to start the business. And it's just myself, my brother-in-law, and my father. And we'll mainly be distributing the cars. 99% of them will be sold via the internet. We're not going to have any public coming into the building and accessing it. Maybe 1% of our sales, I would say. But the barn that you saw in the pictures, I think there was a little mix-up on the application. We were proposing just adding on a small section in the future, a 14-foot wide section for additional storage. But we're going to use the building that is there now. That's all we're going to need. So the barn we've years ago, we put concrete and things of that nature and made it into somewhat of a shop. So what we have now is what we're going to use. But we'll be able to contain everything inside. There'll be no outside storage, no cars sitting outside, and every piece and part of these cars will be sold. They're fiberglass bodies, so if there's any damage to the bodies, they'll be disposed of properly. But for the most part, we sell every piece on the car. And we dismantle them, inventory them, put them on a shelf. They're inside the shop, so there's not going to be any cars sitting around outside, and it'll all be contained on the interior.
Did you read these conditions?
Yes, sir.
You understand them?
Yes, sir.
You're only looking at Corvettes?
That's it.
Okay.
Nothing else.
How many Corvettes do you have access to at this time?
Well,
They're pretty rare automobiles, what I'm getting at.
Well, they are, the way that we would go about purchasing them is through insurance auto auction companies after they've been wrecked. Mm-hmm. Is how we would acquire the vehicles. And there's plenty of them being wrecked, unfortunately. So there's a big demand for it.
The bodies, once you get through with stripping the parts, what do you do with the bodies?
It would be recycled.
You would carry them away, right?
Take it to the scrap yard.
Okay.
because there's no value.
And there
to
would
them.
be nothing outside?
No,
This
sir.
would be inside of your barn?
Because there's no value to the car, to the bare naked chassis.
Okay.
There's no value to them, and they would be disposed of. But all the other parts will be inside the building on shelves.
You understand there can be no more than 3 at one time?
Absolutely.
You can't have 5, you can't have 6?
Right. I couldn't get that many in the shop. So 3 is all I can fit in there, and 2 would probably be all we'd have on site at a time.
And what time of the day would you be working on these? Stripping?
8 to 5.
Okay. How much noise? There's no cutting to this, as I
No, sir,
understand.
there's no cutting. The only noise that we generate is going to be from an impact wrench. That's pretty much the only thing that we use that's going to make any noise.
Okay.
And
Gasoline, oil of any kind, what's your plan to take care of that?
well, in the past, we collect our oil into 5-gallon containers and had been taking them to AutoZone Advance. They'll take 10 gallons at a time, and we disperse of it that way because we just don't have a lot of it. But we have containers to collect everything.
Okay. Nothing is left on site. Everything is, any raw materials is taken off. Questions? Keith?
Just a few. When you get the vehicles, how are they going to? Are y'all going to, as far as the automobiles brought onto the property, are they?
They would be brought in by a transporter.
Okay. And what about the parts going out? Are they going to be UPS?
FedEx.
Okay. All right. So thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
You're saying they will.
Use your microphone, please.
There will never be any outside storage whatsoever.
No, sir.
As soon as you take them off the transporter, you will move them inside.
We'll once the car is dismantled and all that's left is the bare chassis, the metal chassis, it will be hauled to Clark Iron and Metal, and we'll dispose of it.
But never no vehicles parked outside waiting to be dismantled. They will instantly go inside.
No, sir. I mean, the worst that I could envision is maybe there's an awning in behind the shop there that we got a tractor underneath and some stuff, we do have some agriculture stuff sitting there. But the worst that I could envision is maybe a car sitting there for a day until we can get room for it to get it in, but that would be the worst case scenario.
What's the closest house to you?
300 or 100 yards or better, or more than that. Yeah, I'd say it's 100 yards.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
It would be that house. Well, this house is vacant, but this house on the right is occupied.
Okay, Jerry?
My questions for staff, there's a lot of language in here about the public building and such, and that won't be considered today then, right?
Well, it was just a part of his application that he mentioned. However, it wasn't a part that would require your approval at this time.
Well, does the fact that he's using it now for a home-based business, it should change our square footage because it's not agricultural anymore?
If he's changing the function of the building, it would either render it non-conforming if he's changed it from. Was the building there prior to your purchase? Located on the property, the barn itself, or
It was the first, when the property was purchased, it was the first thing that was constructed on it 20 years ago.
I'd have to look into the date of which it was constructed, but it would render it non-conforming if all the work has taken place within the ag building that we've recognized. Because what it would do is it would cause it to be counted towards your accessory structure, but he's not proposing to build any, so we wouldn't need a variance at this time, but as part of your conditional use, you might want to include a condition that it can take place in the existing building. Because you will not be pulling additional building permits until the actual attachment is being constructed. Is that correct? I mean, and that's nothing you're planning to do in the Okay.
It was proposed that
Okay.
we could probably foresee that for additional storage, it'd be 14 foot wide and the barn's 40 foot long, and it would be the
It would
14 by 40.
be at that time that you would need to get variance
Correct.
approval for that.
Correct.
So,
Keith?
What you're going to be constructing is going to be added on to the existing barn
Yes.
there, but as far as the barn, any of that's still going to remain agriculture, you're not going to be storing any parts or anything?
No, the barn will be converted into the shop. We'll be using it, the existing structure will be converted into our shop.
Okay, so in other words, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. What you're proposing to add on is the 14 by 40, which is 580 square foot? Right, and plus you're also going to be using you're going to turn the existing barn into that too. That's going to be a total of, what's the square foot?
Barn's 40 by 40 now, so.
I just indicated to him at the time where he builds the addition, and if the barn portion of the structure were still being used for that, for the major home-based business, he would have to get the variance for the addition.
Okay, so he would have to come back before us to get.
He would have to come back here if he puts this addition onto it, provided this is approved.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we can't approve that part tonight
All right, sir. Thank you.
because this changes the square footage.
I understand.
But it is an existing condition, and he can use it for that purpose.
However, staff prepared it with the barn being used for agricultural purposes in mind. So it was not, the addition was considered accessory and the barn still being a barn for ag use.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
Just that you have no problem with us putting in your conditional use that this is for Chevy Corvettes only?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I have no problem with that at all. No, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. If you'll come forward at this time, give us your name and any additional information that you have about this request.
I'm Marilyn Johnston and Terry Blankenship. We are owners of the property. As we look at this way, we're just to the left, and we are opposed to this. We love Chevy Corvettes, and we're all for having used car parts. We have bought this farm as a recreational use property for ourselves and as a little land bank for ourselves. And, we know that Murfreesboro is the 12th fastest growing city in the nation. My brother lives here, is a resident here, and I'm, somewhat active in this community, even though I don't live in the community. We understand from land specialists that having a used auto parts business adjacent to us could dramatically impact our property value, and we're very concerned about that. We would love to think, with the county growing as fast as it is, that maybe one day, we have no plans to develop this, but maybe one day it could be, and that it could provide, I don't know how many homes per acre might be put on it. At a half an acre, you're talking about over 100 homes that might be on it. At a tenth of an acre, 500 homes that maybe one day could be on it. That would be a huge tax base that could be a loss to the community if people refuse to be adjacent to a used car business.
Let me point something out. As you look at
I think he's acquired more land, though.
Okay. As you look at the property boundary, we've got 53 acres here, and
we share more of the property boundary.
Yeah, we're the biggest boundary sharer, I think, than anyone else is kind of our interest here.
Do you live on this site yet?
No.
Do you plan on building there?
We do not, but we have invested
for development.
No, not for development necessarily, for land appreciation and value. And we do believe, and I have been told by a land specialist, that having used car parts business adjacent to us would dramatically negatively impact our land value. And we're very concerned, about that. If there would be a potential for oil or brake fluid or antifreeze or gasoline or anything to spill out and leach into the soil and to the rock, that could be an environmental hazard with toxic waste going into the land. And I know the Lawlesses over here have cattle across the street that the wash-off and the water table could be hurt by. And we're very opposed to the environmental impact of it and the waste of the chemicals that could be into the land and into our land as wash-off.
Okay, let me go through this one more time, and you still, that's fine for you opposing it. He can only have 3 Corvettes at any time. He cannot put oil, gas, or any other raw materials on the property. It has to be taken off. The body of those that he strips has to be carried off too. You can't have this. We're not going to put up with a junkyard out there. Understand that. That's not going to happen. It's not going to be a junkyard. If there are any violations of this, then you have a right to call the county and we will investigate it if this is approved, okay? So you do have some very stiff requirements, and that's one good thing about going to a BZA. If something is approved, it has a lot of really stiff requirements. Now, as far as hurting your land values, what you really need to find, and we hear that a lot, and I would like for our citizens to come forward with a written declaration from realtors or someone who does this other than hearsay that it's going to affect the value of your land. We need that kind of documentation. So and I say this a lot, not just to you all, for those that are listening.
I am an active practicing realtor, and I do sell in Rutherford
So far,
County
land
as
prices
well.
have not gone down in this county. They've gone up. I'd like for them to stabilize a little bit.
Yeah. I understand and I hear what you're saying with that, but I would say that the attractiveness of a parcel of land would be dramatically negatively impacted. I was told by another agent who is a land specialist that it could be up to 50%.
Okay. Well, we don't think that's possible, but anyway, we respect your opinion on that. And if you ever have something that comes before the board, and anyone who's listening, always get that in writing. Documentation. Document, and that really will help this board to make some decisions. Do we have any questions from the board at this time? Thank you. We do appreciate.
Can I throw something else in? We definitely can document that.
Okay.
We just didn't know the procedure, never done this before.
We understand.
And put that in writing from certified realtors.
Okay. We understand. We appreciate you coming
Ms.
before
Lawless
us.
is coming, I think, as
Yes,
well.
ma'am. Thank you so much. If you'll give us your name and any information you have for the board.
I'm Gloria Lawless. My husband and I have a dairy farm. It's across the street from his business.
You live on site?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I guess my concern is the property value. I don't know a whole lot about different stuff. Like I say, I'm a country bumpkin, and I just want to protect our investment. And we have cattle. I want to protect our cattle, because that's our livelihood. Like I say, we have a dairy, and I just like it be considered about the right thing. I don't want to see, he sounds like he has to contain and stuff. I don't want to see a potential growth and something happens and not oppose it at the very beginning, and then something happened and it gets out of control.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming. Anyone else? Have anyone else? We'll close the public hearing. Keith?
Just for some conversation and maybe some questions, Mr. Chairman. understand, well, the applications that's before us here, and then the concerns of the folks that came up with their concerns about the adverse effect on their property. I kind of got a question maybe for our attorney. I just want to make sure. I know these folks have the Rose have made application here, and long as they meet the, I guess everything that's set forth in our zoning codes or whatever, and they meet all these this criteria. I mean, I just you know, I don't see. I just want to make sure we're right. If we denied this application based on just because of what somebody's concerns over here are, that may or may not have some adverse effect on their property, where that puts this board. In other words, I want to know, as long as the applicant meets all the criteria that we set forth, I'm just wondering if we really don't have a right to deny it. And the reason I'm bringing that up, I've just, I know in the past on some other things, and not necessarily this board, that there's been sometimes some questions. So I'm still trying to make sure we're doing the right thing and the legal thing.
If you choose to deny it, there's going to have to be an adequate basis, and you're going to have to state that on the record for the denial. If you choose to deny the application, you're going to have to state on the record your reasons for the denial, your adequate basis for the denial.
Let me go, since we're discussing this, let me go back over this. We are not going to tolerate another junkyard out here in the county. I want everybody to understand that. That is absolutely not going to happen. And I think the applicants understand that. There can only be 3 Corvettes at any one time that can be on this property. There cannot be any oil, gas, or other types of liquid put or kept on the property. It has to be moved off. The shell of each one of these automobiles, and I don't know how many there are out there. Being a Corvette, I don't see that there's going to be a whole lot of impact. It just doesn't happen that much. And I just, I'm sure that it's probably a profitable thing if you have some parts to sell. But boy, you've got to have a day job in order to do this. You're not going to make a living off of it. As far as property values are just not going down in this county. I'm a little disappointed this year that my property taxes went up, but that's another subject. And I thought, everywhere else in the country, they're depressed. But here in Rutherford County, they just keep going up. It doesn't matter what happens. So we've got some pretty good stipulations in there as far as requirements. If you would like some others, now is the time to do that, because we want to, and I think all of us feel like this has got to be done in a proper manner. If it's going to be a junkyard, we have enough junkyards already in this county to handle dismantling of automobiles, and they have to be done at a proper place. When these folks leave, it's sold, then the operation also, you can't sell that with the land. So that's becomes null and void at the time that it leaves. So we've got some pretty good stipulations in there to protect the property, adjacent property, to protect the neighbors. And if it doesn't happen, all they've got to do is call in and give us that information, and our enforcement division will take care of it. If you'd like some others in that, let's put it in now.
I do, Mr. Chairman. I know you brought it up during our discussion with the applicant. It may be in here, but if it's not, I want to make sure that we do have it in there as far as the operation of them dismantling whatever. I know it's going to be inside, but being daytime hours, even as far as bringing vehicles onto the property or any being shipped out, that all be done during the daytime hours, not at night.
Okay.
Yeah, we do not want vehicles being brought in at midnight.
No.
So this should be done in their operation hours.
Right.
Everything.
And I think the applicant said that they were going to do it around 8 to 5, so.
Okay, good point. Any other changes or additions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on this.
I'll make a motion be approved.
Be approved with the requirements on it
Absolutely.
that we have stated, and
Yes, sir.
those that are listed here. We have a second.
Do you want to add that condition about the daylight hours as part of your motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell. Yes. Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Tony Webb, Dane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
It is approved with the requirements as stated, which are very stringent. So let's move forward to this. We appreciate all of you being here tonight, and we have any other business before the board. We stand adjourned. Thank you so much.